Hey guys, good morning. It's really early in the morning, Sunday, just one day after the dance fair. I'm not heading there again today. Simple reason, I took care of everything I wanted. I met all of the people I needed to talk to. Took care of my masterclass, which was really great, I think. I don't know. First time I did something like this, live in front of people. And of course also met a lot of you guys, which was actually really fun to see, like the faces behind the comments and the people actually watching. And to be honest, there's always something that tops everything else, and that is... Whoa, the car moved. And that is just heading to the studio and making music for as long as I can.
Different places, different worlds, nothing left, just empty words. Back for breath, barely touch, nothing ever is enough.
Today it's for me all making music, trying to do as much as I can. Still working on one instrumental and still waiting for all of the finished instrumentals for singer and songwriters, which, yeah, always is like the bottleneck of my entire production process. So today I wanted to talk about something someone asked me at the dance fair. It was about like the dimensions of mixing and how to place things in the mix. Because there are like actually 3 axes where you can place your sounds in. This way separate them, this way be able to better mix. And it's actually something really simple I think every producer should know about. I think I already covered it very briefly in one of my very old videos where I was still doing weekly vlogs. So the simple theory behind it, you always listen to 2 speakers, a stereo pair usually. There are also some occasions where you listen to mono signals. There you don't have that many options because one axis is already gone, the left, right, middle axis, like where you locate the sound in the mix. And if you're listening to it on like on a 5.1 surround system, you got even plenty more to choose. You can't place the sound anywhere in the room. Mono systems are usually Sonos speakers, phones, and surround, usually just cinema. Not a whole lot of people actually listen to those things. It's mostly stereo in clubs, your earplugs, and if you have a good speaker set for at home or in your studio. For the next section, it's really important that you listen to it on a stereo system, otherwise you won't be able to tell the difference. The easiest way is just to pan things, left, right, and everywhere in between. You can have things in the middle between of both speakers. Both speakers then output the same signal and it appears to come from the middle, and you can pan them to the right or left depending on where you want to have it in the mix. So for example, this shaker loop here in my Not Scared track, it's panned a little bit to the right. I could pan it even more or pan it to the left. This really depends on your preference, your taste, depends on the other elements. A lot of people like to have, like for example, the hi-hat on one side, crashes and cymbals a little bit more to the other side, to mimic a live drum set. Because if you're standing in front of live drums, kick drum is coming from the middle, and then the hi-hats and toms, they are spread out to kind of really mimic that sound of a live drum set. If that's the sound you're going for, you can also just pan it to make it more interesting and to spread the sounds out a little more and have more room in the middle for the snare, for the vocals, or the piano, or what else is going on in your song. Another thing I like to do, it's kind of an automatic panning between left and right. If I can't decide to put something on the left or the right, I use a tremolo. You can set the rate. Here it's 1/4, and you can also choose the depth and everything. And the sound is then switching between left and right. Whenever you set this up, make sure to test this on headphones, because on headphones it always sounds more emphasized. So if you put the depth to 100%, it's just going back so extreme that it might be weird when you listen to it with headphones. The third way is to just spread things out. I usually use the sample delay. It's physically delaying one of the 2 channels, left or right, by a couple of milliseconds. You have to find the right amount for each and every element. If it's too much, it goes into complete anti-phase. If it's too little, it's still mono. So just make it wide, have more space in the middle, and that's also how you separate it on this axis. With the wide sound, and then without. We got covered left, right, center, spread out to the sides. The next dimension is actually pushing things more into the back, and the easiest way to do that is by using reverb. The more reverb, the more distant sounds appear. The drier things are, the more up close, up front they appear. This way you can also separate elements in your mix by pushing them back. It's not as effective as pushing them to the sides, because they're still laying on top of each other, but you can also do both. You can make something wide and put a lot of reverb on top, so you have it spread out to the sides and to the back. Quick example would be the guitar here on this song. So first, without the reverb. And then pushing it back with the reverb. And on top of that, even using the S1 imager, it's also a tool to spread out things to make them wide. Again, without the spreading and without the reverb. And again with. If you use these things wisely, you can really place your elements and separate them. For the kick and bass, I would usually go for a mono signal that isn't wet at all. Maybe on a bass you can use a tiny bit of reverb, a tiny bit of delay, but the kick usually, or at least the bottom part of the kick, is dry. And in the center, vocals always in the center, at least the main vocal. If you have a left, right, or a chorus, or a lower octave, higher octave harmonies, you can spread them out around it and put different reverbs on top, different effects, have them panned left, right, or make them just wide. Main synthesizers, chords, main melodies, if you have vocals, make them wide. If you don't have any vocals, have at least one of the layers or one of the parts in the center to have that punch and attention right there. Because if your entire track is spread out to the sides, it just sounds really awkward and it loses all of the punch. So have at least one element, usually the main element, more in the center. Hi-hats, claps, everything that is like the top end of a drum set. Spread it out, be creative with it, make it pan left and right, have it just to one side, something else to balance it on the other side. And as I said, there are 3 dimensions, but first I really need to get some work done, and then we will talk about the third one. So yeah, the third dimension is the most known. It's the hertz. The frequencies from 0 hertz to 20,000, that's the range we humans can hear. The very low end below 30 hertz isn't that important for music because it's more feeling than hearing, and most speakers can't even play it. And above like 18, 19 hertz, 19 kilohertz, depending on your age, it also gets less. The older, the less top frequencies you can actually hear. That's also why most mastering engineers take out those frequencies a little bit. But then actually knowing about the frequencies, it's again about separation. You can, for example, have your guitar right in the middle part of the frequencies and have layered underneath a sub bass and a bass and the kick, and on top the hi-hats. And the second you have more going on, usually the hardest part is the low end, so just stick to kick and bass. And I think what's even harder than the low end is getting like the middle part right, because that's like where the most stuff is going on. It's also the section where you have the vocals and usually the piano and the guitar, so all of the main instruments coming all together in this one section. And before you make it too crowded and everything just sounds like washed out and mushy, you have to make sure to separate it, separating with an EQ, carving out frequencies of the guitar or the piano to make room for the vocals. Or what's even better is just not having those elements play at the same time. So making sure whenever the vocals are playing to maybe filter the other elements, and whenever the vocals are not playing, you can open up the filters again. So again, you have the x-axis, left, right, middle, spread out. You got the y-axis, frequencies from the very bottom to the very top. And the z-axis, the distance into the back with the reverb. Use all of these tools wisely. Know about these tools, know how to achieve it, really listen carefully to it. I think making things wide, especially in electronic dance music, is the strongest separation, with it just selecting the right elements for the frequencies. If you select the right elements, if you select a main synthesizer sound that sits in the right frequency slot, you don't have to do that much EQing. A lot of people just try to EQ things to death to make them fit, but it's actually better to pick something that already fits and maybe just smooth it out a little to really get it in there. So that's basically already it for today. I actually really need to hurry up. It's Sunday. I promised Vanessa not to be in the studio for that long, and now I'm here for extremely long. And she definitely deserves, after spending the entire day yesterday with me at the dance fair. I hope it wasn't too boring for her. Funniest part was really laid back Luke.
Oh, you do it daily?
Daily for 2 years.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Is the frame good?
You still have a girlfriend with editing.
Did you hear that? So yeah, time to take care of her a little. Also, Vanessa told me that there was a blind person attending my master class and wanted to speak to me, but I was kind of so busy with everyone else, I didn't realize it, so sorry. She told me about it after the event, so if you're that person and you're interested to get in touch with me, maybe have a phone call or ask me any question, just get in touch with me over any social media or my email address that is also linked down below. But anyways, that's it for today. See you tomorrow again, hopefully. And yeah, probably dinner today. She definitely deserves a nice romantic dinner.